Hello everyone, my name is Cameron and I did my CAA report on Argentina. One of the well-known civil aviation authorities is the National Civil Aviation Administration of Argentina. More information about this can be found on their website at www.argentina.gov.ar. The information about the body can also be tracked on academic articles or academic resources or any other source you can find online. And it is authorized by executive decree, meaning the Ministry of Defense is obligated by the executive decree to control air traffic. And this task is then handed to Air Force, Argentina Air Force, in fact, and then it's supposed to be overseen actually by the National Aviation Administration, which is also known as the ANAC. ANAC was established in 2007. It has had multilateral and bilateral agreements with bodies where Argentina has only become one party. One of the multilateral conventions is the Chicago Convention of 1944 ratification. Some of these reports include safety reports that are done technically. These reports are also aimed at preventing incidents and accidents in the future. Such reports are produced by the Civil Aviation Investigation Board, and such was a safety report that was published in 2017. And I do have some bullets here. Ensure submission to the Argentine Aeronautical Code. Like I said earlier, ratification with the Convention of International Civil Aviation. And as I said earlier, it produces reports such as safety reports for the ANAC. Areas served, it provides corporations or individuals in Argentina with authorization to conduct domestic air services. These include regulating the foreign carriers to perform unscheduled services. ANAC conducts air traffic control through the safety regulations, that are put in place, and also checks the compliance with these rules. ANAC inspects aircrafts before takeoff, and also airport security, which is known as Airport Security Police, PSA, are obligated to ensure that there's enough security in the field. They ensure that crew members, passengers, and carried goods are inspected to mitigate dangers in flight safety. ANAC is obligated to check all matters regarding airport activities, civil aviation, air transport, and the development of air policies in Argentina. So some of the areas served here I have are licensing operations, air traffic control, airport regulation, air transport, development of air policy, and drones. AP certification. So for one to obtain one, as you can see, you have to at least be 18 years old. You need to obtain airframe and powerplane certificate in Argentina. They must be, as I said earlier, 18 years above. The procedure of applying includes sending the documents, as it states here, and taking a test, which will be prescribed to you with certain material. And you also need to have experience in aircraft mechanics. The applicants should also have, as I said earlier, documents to prove the types of aircraft they have worked on and experienced in, and you also need to have approved signatures from people above, managers, supervisors, etc. Accidents, incidents, and interesting information. The Accident Investigation Board, JIAAC, handles accidents. Compensation for damages inflicted are on the ground. Insurance for carriers. It's interesting that ANC uses the Accidents Investigation Board in courts. Now, I do want to get into that, but before we do, I do want to talk more about JIAAC. They are under the Ministry of Transport, and they are obligated to investigate matters of incidents and accidents. Therefore, measures should be taken to prevent the occurrence of the same mistakes. The people who suffer damages, that are associated with the aircraft are granted recovery of those damages. When matters are taken to the court of law, the courts consider Warsaw Convention and Montreal Convention to give basis for plane liability of incidents of passenger death or injury. So meaning like if something were to happen, it's going to get covered basically. ANAC has ensured that all carriers have insurance to cover deaths, injuries on passengers, or damage inflicted on third parties. One interesting fact, as I mentioned earlier, that I do want to talk about is that ANAC applies reports from accidents investigation boards in court trials, but International Civil Aviation Organization, known as ICAO, norms outline, which is in Annex 13, indicates that the reports should be applied in court trials. So I found that interesting that they're kind of both different. So ICAO and FAA, Argentina has aligned them with the provision of Annex 17 in the ICAO convention. Argentina follows the regulation that has been provided by the ICAO in Annex 17. It follows document 8973, which includes confirming and allowing the accidents. The FAA also has a task in safety regulation, which is a similar one done by the ANAC Argentina. Both ANAC Argentina and FAA ensure that there is efficient utilization of navigatable airspace. They have the function of traffic control in the air, which the FAA. So as I kind of said earlier, I kind of talked about safety regulations, air traffic, airspace management, and how ANAC has the same responsibilities as FAA, which is also interesting how two different places, two different countries, and they do. Cultural considerations. So when working in Argentina, you must consider being able to speak the language that is mostly used, which is mostly Spanish in that country. And I did see a little bit of Italian in my research as well that was used. Therefore, you must consider actually learning and applying to learn these languages. If you were to move there, you would have to do that because you have to be able to adapt to their culture and their language. You also must consider building relationships with the people in the sector of work. Argentinians are basically, they are very family oriented, and this reflects in ways which they can relate with people. One must also consider being a more welcoming person because people in Argentina, they treat their senior citizens with a lot more respect than others. They also consider socializing with people. Argentinians also consider first impressions very important, which is very important to them. And with that said, you must consider being punctual in activities that need punctuality. So I kind of have here business language, building relationships, meeting, considering first impressions, trying to be a first impression and meeting what they expect of you. So that is it for my presentation of Argentina. Here are my references that I got my sources from. So thank you guys.